Welcome back. I'm your girl, Dom, and I'm so glad that you're back. So let's get right into today's topic. I have so much information for you today, and I'm talking about the good stuff. So my last video was how to start your ABA company. So many of you have messaged me asking me the specific question, how do you get school contracts? Just a little bit of background on me. I am a board certified behavior analyst. I have my own private practice, and a lot of the work that I do is providing ABA consulting to public and private schools. I've gotten different kinds of school contracts, and I will talk a little bit about different school contracts and specifically how do we get school contracts. So many of you have messaged me to ask me this question. It doesn't matter how many videos I put out. How much money can you make as a BCBA? How to start your own ABA practice? How to get supervision? No matter what I put out there, I feel like I get this same question over and over again. And the question is, Dom, how do you get a school contract? How can we bridge the gap between academia and applied behavior analysis? So that is what we're going to talk about in this video. This video is entitled How to Get a School Contract. All right. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Here you go. Not only am I going to share tips on how to get a school contract, but I'm going to talk about what are your roles when you have a school contract and why we should be looking for school contracts. Why are we specifically as BCBAs, as behavior analysts, why are we needed in the schools? Okay. So that's what this video is going to talk about. And then, it's probably going to have to be a part two because it just keeps getting better. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. That way you get notifications when I put out more information. So let's get into the first step of how to get a school contract. So a few of the school contracts that I've had in the past is I've been contracted with a private school where they actually hired me as one of their employees, and I had the title of special ed lead. So my job there was to interpret the IEPs that are coming in and make recommendations based off of off of the student's IEP, and how can we transition them from their old school to their new school. I was also pulled in some classrooms, and I was used to help support the teachers with classroom management. Right. So that was a private school, and they hired me as an employee to provide consultation there. Another school contract that I've had was with a public school. And with a public school, I was an independent contractor. So they hired me and they hired my company just to provide services for a set amount of hours. You discuss the amount of hours with the school up front. Those are two different kinds of contracts. One, you are an employee, and because you're an employee, you may be responsible for taking their onboarding trainings, and you may be responsible for being there more of a full-time role versus being an independent contractor. Think of it as like a speech pathologist or an OT working at a school. They may come in 2 to 3 days a week. They may have an office there. They may consult with other schools in the district. The question is, how do we get those contracts? So the first thing that we need to address is public relations. Okay. In my opinion, there is more of a direct route that you can go in order to get clients or to get school contracts. And then there's more of an indirect route that you can go, right? But both of those are centered around building public relations. So I don't know if you know this, but the reason why ABA is not in a lot of our mainstream schools, private schools, public schools around the whole country or the world is because either people don't know about us or they do not like us, right? And that just comes from years and years of just being misrepresented or only thinking of like the old outdated literature or the old outdated procedures where ABA was only considered restrictive, or that's not the case anymore. So it is our job as behavior analysts to disseminate what we can do, to disseminate why we are here and what will happen when you implement evidence-based strategies to change certain socially significant behaviors in the environment. So people don't know this about us. So it is our job to build those relationships. And we want to do that organically, right? We're not just trying to come in and fake the funk and say, hey, I really care, hire me. No, I really need you to care. I really need you to care. So in this field, we need social validity. We need society to also agree that we are essential and that we can make an impact. Without social validity, we cannot truly be impactful because we can have all the resources, all the science, all the articles, all the literature. But if nobody's hiring us, if nobody is seeking us out outside of our normal ABA structure or our normal clientele, are we really truly making a real impact? So, how do we do that? It is our job to increase media exposure. So social media presence is a very good way to get the public to know that we are here and to know what we're about, whether that's posts, stories, videos, memes, funny memes, sharing resources, sharing links. If you know of any free trainings, just popping those resources and links up on your social media page, letting them know like there's a new science in town and we are here to change and impact lives. Even though we're not a new science, we are new to a lot of people. We have to normalize this conversation of behavior analysis. And a good way to do that is through social media. So personally, for me, I put it out there that I am an expert in behavior analysis in the Chicagoland area. So if
Is anyone going in and analyzing the environment and saying, well, what can we do with this coursework? What can we do during transitions? What can we do during break times to help him if he's overstimulated?
You know what? It's so funny because everybody asks me, how did you get Jason where he is right now? And
so if you were to go on my social media, although it's my personal social media, you will see that my online persona has everything to do with ABA, positive practices, positive parenting, acceptance, autism acceptance, vacationing, and coffee, because I like those as well. I put it out to the social media world that I am the expert in this area because, hey, hello, I do have my BCBA. I continue to put that out and I am saturating the internet with this information. It's a way of planting a seed. So now, whenever people hear the word autism, whenever they hear the word behavior change, classroom management, autism acceptance, professional development, the first person they're going to think of is me because I'm the closest one to them. I am their social media friend. They know me, they like me. And now they also know that I am an expert in this area. And even if you cannot physically help them because there's a conflict of interest or if there's a dual relationship, you have a community of other BCBAs, of other resources that you can guide them. So it is our job to disseminate the field of ABA. It is not our job to take on every single client. Okay. So the next thing you want to do is get involved in community events. That could be community events where government officials are involved, where elected officials are involved, where there are superintendents and principals and social workers, or just parents, pastors, ministers. You want to get involved with some of these community organizations. I used to provide free trainings once a month for an organization called Proviso Township Ministers Alliance. So, with me providing those resources from someone who looks like them, someone who is a native of the Proviso Township area, or someone who just you can tell in the way that I speak and the way that I carry myself that I'm very, very passionate about helping our community. So I didn't just stop there. I didn't just stand on the podium and give my little spiel on behavior shaping or positive reinforcement and then throw the deuces and dip. No, I stayed afterwards. I listened to what everyone else had to say. I listened to see what are the pain points of the community. I listened to see what the elected officials are talking about in that community. I stayed afterwards and I mingled with everyone, even though I have social anxiety. And I waved the superintendent down and I said, hey, I really loved your 2-minute speech on whatever it is that he talked about. I remember then, I don't remember now. And just really introduce yourself to these individuals and build relationship. But people do business with individuals that they know, that they like, and that they trust. So once again, when the problem arises at their school, at their son's school, at their nieces or nephew's school, the first person they're going to think about is that cute Black girl that stood on the podium and gave us all of these free resources for the past 3 months. I'm going to call her because she really knows what she's talking about and she's really passionate about what she does. Okay. So there is no hard, fast, easy rule on how to get school contracts. It really comes with building connections with the right people.
Okay,
So I just want to put out there a disclaimer. This is not to be confused with soliciting, in-person soliciting of clients. Okay. So if you read our nice professional ethical compliance code for behavior analysis, if we move to section 8.0, public statements. Much anything other 8.0 you want to become very fluent in, because we want to make sure that we are not giving false or deceptive statements, and we want to make sure that we are not doing in-person solicitation. Okay, so let's talk about what our role is once we get the school contract. Now, this is not an exhaustive list of what your role will be as a consulting BCBA with the school, but a lot of what you do will revolve around professional development training, interpreting IEPs, and creating behavior intervention plans based off of functional behavior assessment. So sometimes I've just been consulted for functional behavior assessments. Sometimes I will be consulted to do the entire behavior treatment plan. And other times they want a longer relationship where not only am I doing assessments, I'm doing the behavior intervention plan, but I'm doing incidental staff training in the moment. I'm doing some observations. I may do observations across different settings. I may meet with some teachers and do some classroom management. So it all depends on what you state in your contract. So, those are some of the roles that we may have as BCBAs when we are consulting the schools. Professional development is big, it's huge. All schools have to, just like we have to have CEUs, educators have to have a certain amount of professional development hours per year. So if nothing else, you don't want to work with the school long term, or let's say the school doesn't have a budget to hire you for the entire year, they could just hire you for professional development training. We could teach things to make learning or to make teaching easier, like shaping procedures or differential reinforcement or forward chaining, backward chaining, pre-MAC principle, prompt hierarchy. There are so many things and so many resources that we have that we can give to teachers and paraprofessionals and other individuals in the school district to help make learning more salient and for the kids. Another thing that we'll be called and asked to do is interpret IEPs. So some kids may come into the school with an IEP, or they have an IEP, but they don't have a behavior plan. So many times it's our job to look through their IEPs to see what accommodations are in place and how can we teach those accommodations to their support staff so we can make sure those accommodations are actually helping or are actually happening. This can look like advocating for your student, saying, okay, this student needs movement breaks during the school day, or this student, you want to give him additional time to transition during the hallway, or this student, you want to give them additional time to finish their work and to complete their assignments. So there are tons of accommodations that we can suggest and recommend in schools. So this is so important because when you think of schools, there is not a lot of room for autonomy, for everyone to have an individualized day. A lot of the time, the students are taught or expected to conform to the rules of the school. But when you think of diverse learners, that may be the hardest thing for them to do. And we also may be asked to do functional behavior assessments, which is one of my favorite things to do because it gives me the opportunity to sit with the teachers, to sit with their support staff, the resource teacher, the art teacher, the music teacher, and just get their perspective on what happens in their class. What do they see? And how do they redirect that behavior? How do they reinforce that behavior? And I also think it's really important when coming into the school. Like I said in the beginning, they don't know us and they don't like us. So when we come in, I'm okay, I won't say that. Some of them don't like us. So when we come in, don't come in with this know-it-all, grandiose, like I got the power type of mentality. No, you come in seeking to learn, seeking to understand how they do things, seeking to know their culture. You are the expert. You know the child more than I do. You see him more frequently. You have seen these behaviors before. I am here to learn from you. I'm going to make some suggestions. If you feel like they're going to work, let me know. If you feel like they're not going to work, then let's talk about that. I always solicit feedback with anyone that I'm working with. I never come in like I am the end all be all and you have to listen to me because that's not true. Yes, I may have a BCBA, but guess what? You've been here a lot longer and you know that person's learning history. So I always take that as an opportunity to pair with the staff, pair with the teachers, and really get to know what it is that they deal with on a regular basis, which will add to the validity of the treatment plan. So if you can write this great treatment plan with all of these evidence-based procedures, but if it doesn't match with the culture and what's feasible for that student or for that teacher in that classroom at that time, then nobody's going to carry out your treatment plan. So you want to get buy-in from the teachers up front. Okay. So lastly, I want to talk about why we should get school contracts. Okay. And I only got a few more minutes because like I got some things to do, right? So one thing I will say, do not get a school contract if you just are looking for some money or looking for another way to get some income or are just curious about what's going on in the schools and why they don't like it. No, no, you want to get school contracts for the right reason. The reason I started seeking out school contracts is because honestly, I was getting burnt out doing in home. I feel like I was making an impact in one family and that was it, right? When working with schools, now I get to come in contact with all of these kids, with all of these teachers, with paraprofessionals, with therapists and social workers, superintendents, principals, parents. I get to come in contact with so many people that I get to disseminate the science to. So I feel like I am pushing the field forward faster. School contracts aren't for everyone. If you can't see yourself being a teacher or working in the school, then don't go after a school contract. But if you can see yourself doing this work, I think this is a really great path for the field of ABA. Think about it. If now the teacher has these skills for the next set of students and the next year and the next year. And so now this teacher can now do shaper procedures with anybody she comes in contact with. This teacher knows how to do differential reinforcement for every diverse learner that she or he comes in contact with. So please comment below and let me know what else you want to know about how to get a school contract. Comment below if you want to know how to get a SILA contract or how to get a contract with the YMCA. Like this field, this science, ABA can be applied to any and all settings. So we need to start thinking outside of the box today. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This way you get notified on when I upload new videos because we know it just keeps getting better. All right, until next time, bye.